MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome to the Big Small Business Show, the show for all our wonderful entrepreneurs out there. And today we're talking about something that we really don't like to talk about, which is tax, and specifically VAT, value-added tax. And in studio with us today, we've got an accountant, somebody who knows how to add and subtract and divide and do percentages. His name is George Diab. He's the founder and CEO of Gas Accounting, and he's going to be talking to us about VAT. Welcome.
Thank you, Allon.
All right. So VAT is something now, it's 15% as we speak. But a lot of companies I know that when they're starting out don't register immediately, okay, and only register at some other point.
Yeah.
So let's first ask the question, when is the legal requirement to register for VAT? And why would some companies register upfront, and why wouldn't you? What's the advantages and disadvantages of registering immediately?
Yeah. So this is a question we get quite a lot in our practice. And there's two ways to look at it, or two considerations. So first, the legal consideration. If your turnover, your taxable sales in your company is more than R1 million in any 12-month period, or you foresee that you're going to do more than R1 million worth of turnover in a 12-month period, you have to register for that. It's a compulsory registration. You can, however, if your company does more than 50,000 Rand worth of turnover in a 12-month period, register for VAT, and that's a voluntary registration. So firstly, if you're doing more than R1 million, you have to register legally, and that's in accordance with the Income Tax Act.
Right.
Other reasons why you would do a voluntary registration, it really depends on the nature of the business. So depending on what you're doing, if I were in a services business, so potentially if I run a swim school and the majority of my clients are individuals, I potentially wouldn't want to register for VAT immediately, because what that does is it makes the price of my goods and services 15% more expensive off the bat. And the people I'm selling these goods and services to can't typically claim back the VAT. So this might then go and affect my competitiveness in terms of the market. It might affect my pricing strategy. We mustn't forget that registering for VAT comes with a ton of additional administrative burdens and costs.
So even if you're a private individual, you talk about a swim teacher, and you do over R1 million, you have to register for VAT.
If any business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, a company, a partnership, a closed corporation, a trust, if you're doing over R1 million worth of taxable income, you have to register for VAT.
Explain that taxable income. What does that mean?
So taxable income means a VAT, like sales that attract VAT. So you get sales that are exempt. For example, residential accommodation. If I am in the business of letting out residential accommodation, it's an exempt supply. I don't need to register for VAT if I do more than R1 million of that. But if I do more than R1 million of sales in terms of selling books or services or goods that are taxable, I have to register.
Take us through the VAT, how the money flows, right? So I charge VAT. I charge 115 Rand. My goods I sell for 100 Rand plus VAT is 115 Rand.
Yes.
So let's follow the money.
Follow the money.
Yeah, let's follow the money. Right.
Okay, perfect. So the start would be I register for VAT. And now I need to charge the value or the price of my goods and services plus VAT, which is plus the 15%. And let's say I charge you for a service. I charge you to be on a show over here with me. You pay me 100 Rand for my goods and services plus the 15 Rand VAT. I then, at the end of each VAT period, need to pay that money over to SARS, because ultimately, as VAT vendors, we act as a conduit, as a collection agent for SARS, and that money then needs to be paid back to SARS.
So, yeah, that's an important thing you're saying, is that we're collection agents. It's not our money.
It's not our money.
But a lot of small businesses use that 15 Rand or that 15%.
And I think that's where many people find themselves in some trouble. So they take the money as it lands in their bank account and they use it to fund working capital requirements, operational expenses within the business. They don't treat it as though it's someone else's money, and it is someone else's money. It's SARS's. Because remember, if you weren't VAT registered, you would have still charged the same price for your goods and services. That doesn't change. You're just collecting 15% more on top of that now, which you need to pay over to SARS.
So let's say you don't register. You're at 1.1 million, and you don't register. And my argument is, I had a good year. Next year, I'm anticipating to be at 900,000.
Yes.
What happens?
Nothing would happen. So if in that case, you have passed the R1 million threshold, but it was an abnormal transaction. So you had this one-off transaction that pushed you over the threshold, you wouldn't need to register compulsory. You could easily just argue to SARS that next year my turnover is going to drop below $1 million down to 900, and then the business will continue as normal.
Okay, now I'm pushing the limit a bit more. Okay, so it was 1.1. And then it was 1.1. But next year, I've got 2 years now. It didn't drop to 900. It stayed at 1.1. But next year is going to be 900.
Again, you could potentially make the same argument to SARS, saying, I've had another really good year because of, maybe the environment was different or it was a really good economy, but I don't expect this to continue for X and Y reason. And if your argument is good enough, SARS will accept it. However, if SARS doesn't accept that argument, and this is where the risk comes in, they will deem you to have been registered for VAT from the beginning of that financial period. And they will automatically assess you for 15% on that R1 million. So now where you would have charged R1 million worth of services, SARS will assess you, and now you owe them 150,000 Rands worth of VAT. Even though you haven't charged it to your client, you owe it to SARS. And that's really the risk that business owners run by not registering for VAT when they're supposed to.
Okay, so the remedy for SARS is that they will basically charge you to pay them, so you'll have an outstanding VAT liability to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, and if you don't pay?
Okay, well then we start running into further complications. Now, VAT, they've recently made it a criminal act if you don't pay over your VAT. And they're also criminalizing non-compliance with the Income Tax Act. And we've seen instances of taxpayers actually going to jail for tax evasion activities. So if you don't pay, what would potentially happen is SARS would send you a final letter of demand asking you in a very strict type of way to make that payment. If you then don't pay, they have the right to go into your bank account and actually take that money out of your bank account. And if they can't do that, you could find yourself in a sticky situation where legal proceedings commence.
On that note, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more from George Diab from Gas Accounting on VAT.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.